wow. This looks different. That's right. We are in a new studio today at Black Diamond Mortgage's brand new office space, and it is my privilege to welcome you back to the 11th episode of my podcast called It's Just Personal. This is a podcast that focuses primarily on why relationships are so critical to life. I'm your host, Zach Falk, and today's episode is called The Genuine Man. Interesting. We're going to get into that later. But honestly, we live in a world that propagates the pursuit of perfection with little to no regard as to whether perfection is even achievable. And the truth is, we need genuine men who set themselves apart from the rest by being honest, tough, and self-disciplined. And by describing today's topic, I've actually also been introducing you to my guest at the same time because he fits the bill. So this guy right here is one of those genuine men I'm talking about. Matt Weger. He's a husband, father, real estate agent, handyman, exercise fiend, entrepreneur, and has become someone who I deeply respect. So with that, please welcome Matt Weger to the podcast. Matt, say hi to the audience.
Zach, thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. It's going to be fun.
Yes, it is.
So Matt and I have known each other for about 2 years now. We ended up crossing paths at one point, and that led to grabbing some espresso at a coffee shop. it turns out that at the time, Matt was kind of trying to get introduced into the community a little bit more. And I happened to be in a chess club at the moment. I know, weird, right?
Yeah.
What adult plays chess? But I did.
Yeah.
And so Matt and I were having coffee, and I think it was either that day or the next day that we were going to meet and play chess. Mm-hmm. And so I invited Matt. And now, normally what happens when I invite people to something like chess club is they find an excuse not to come, right? But
I forgot about this.
That wasn't Matt.
Yeah.
Matt was like, "I'll be there. I will be there right away." And so it was good because it was a way for him to connect with some other younger men in the business community, also husbands and fathers like him and I. And it was just a great way to kind of develop our relationship. And then fast forwarding, we've had quite a few subsequent get-togethers. We've done a few real estate transactions together. And then most recently, and which is the reason why we're sitting here today, we had lunch the other day, and it was just awesome. We got into some really deep topics, and we realized that we have a lot more in common than we perhaps first thought.
We do.
So that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. And but before we get into the meat, where we talk about the genuine man, what does that mean? I want to kind of get to have you guys get a chance to know Matt a little bit better. So let's start with you, Matt. Can you tell us a little bit more about your background, your story, growing up? I think it's good for people to know who you are.
Okay. Well, I'm Matt Weger, as Zach said. I grew up in Northern California in Sonoma County. We grew up on a ranch in Mendocino County. Kind of just been a country boy all my life. Love sports. That's really about it. It's just like I'm pretty simple guy, you know. There's not much to me. It's just love being outside, love being with my family and friends. Love being better, getting better every day. Yeah.
I think you lived that. When did you move to Montana?
About 3.5 years ago.
3.5 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay. And then were you always in California prior to that?
I was, yeah.
Okay.
I did move out of state to college in Kansas.
Okay.
Where I went to a little NAIA school for baseball.
Nice.
I don't know if you knew that, actually.
I did know that.
Okay.
Yeah, you mentioned it the
Yeah.
other day. So you played college baseball?
College baseball.
Okay.
Yeah. Kansas, Tabor College in Hillsboro, Kansas, about an hour north of Wichita.
I've obviously heard of that.
Exactly. I went
Where's
there.
Tabor?
It's in Hillsboro, Kansas.
Okay.
The middle of nowhere, dude.
Nice.
I'm talking like it's churches, cemeteries, and baseball fields.
Sounds like the Midwest.
Yeah. But it had, well, to be honest, they gave me the most money to play baseball. So that's the reason I went there.
Sure.
But it ended up being a good spot for me because it had hunting, fishing, baseball, all the things I love to do. So
Would you say you developed a love for those things, hunting, fishing, the outdoors at college, or did you have that ever since you were a kid?
Yeah, I grew up, like I said, on a family ranch that we've had for over 150 years now. Nice. And I grew up, like, that's all I know. Nice. It's just what I grew up doing.
So college was an extension of what you already knew.
Yep.
From that perspective. Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. What did you get your degree in?
Accounting.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, I know. Pretty boring,
I
right?
feel dumber already. I do math for a living.
I know.
And you do it better.
It's it's actually numbers have always come easy to me. That was the reason I went that route. And you use it in real estate.
Yeah.
But when you first come out of college, it's like you never actually use the degree that you get. You know what I mean?
I think that's pretty common.
Yeah.
So you go to college, you graduate. What happens after college? You go back to California for a bit?
I went to, actually, I moved up to Oregon for 6 months where I was dating a girl at the time, lived up there for a little bit, and then we moved back to California, where I actually ended up getting married
Okay.
in California. Not with her anymore, with a new lady. But we were in California for a little bit and then went through what we went through, ended up getting divorced. And then Montana was just calling. I don't know. I guess we can backtrack a little bit. So after getting the divorce, I was kind of in a place where, like, what do I do now? You know what I mean? Which we've all probably been. And I've been a sports lifer, and I got the opportunity to play baseball again.
Oh, okay.
So I went and played independent baseball in Indiana.
Another good state.
Yeah, exactly. But it had everything I needed. I was able to hunt and fish there too. And funny enough, I think I told you this too, like my home field was a League of Their Own's field in the movie with Tom Hanks and Gina Davis. So I played there for a little bit, got to reconnect with my wife now, and we visited Montana one time, as many people do, and decided, why aren't we living there?
Yeah.
You know?
Very normal response.
So we've been here
Montana
for 3.5 years now, and honestly, I can't see living anywhere else.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. I think you and your wife have a pretty interesting story too
We
about how
do.
you guys met. You want to get into that a little bit?
Yeah. So we actually met as 18-year-olds.
That's right.
You know it all at 18 years
Oh,
old.
dude, I was the smartest I've ever been
I know.
at 18 years old. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But the one thing that I will say I did know was that I knew that I wanted to be with her, even at 18 years old. It's just our paths they just weren't going to connect at that time. We were just on two different paths at that time. She was going to college in Oregon. I was going to college in Kansas. Met people, both got married, both realized that they were good people, but they just weren't the people for us. Then we got to somehow rekindle at the same place that we met at 18 years old. I don't even know how many years ago, 10 years later. And it's just like meeting an old friend. It's like you just kick off right where you left off, you know?
Sparks were flying.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like,
Yeah. And so we decided to, like I said, check out Montana for a trip to see if we actually liked each other. And here we are.
So now, do you actually like each other, or was it the charm of Montana that?
That's the thing we always say is that as a married couple, you say love you all the time, right? But you actually do have to like each other. And we say that all the time. It's like, hey, I like you, you know?
Yep.
Not only do I love you, but I actually like you.
Yeah, I think that's a really good distinction. We my wife and I talk about that at times, and we also talk about it with our boys. Like, and it's just human nature. I will always love you, but right now I don't like you.
Yeah, exactly.
And we're going to work through that.
Yep.
But it doesn't mean that I don't love you, right? There's a
Totally.
difference between the two words, and I think culturally we use them perhaps too interchangeably.
Totally.
Okay, that's great. So you guys end up in Montana, and when did you get into real estate?
That's a funny thing too, is like I always wanted to do it. It was kind of a thing in the back of my mind, especially with like land and ranches growing up, going to a ranch. It's like, how cool would that be to go tour all these awesome land parcels and ranch parcels and get to meet all those my kind of people, as I say. I just never took that leap. I just always kind of fell into do what everyone else and what society tells you to do. You know what I mean? Like out of college, go get a good job with good benefits, support your family, all those things. And it just was never me. So I just like decided to actually take the leap when we moved out here
Okay.
because Montana has all those land parcels and cool ranch properties. And yeah, there's no looking back now. Like, I'm fully invested and I can't see doing anything else.
That's good. Yeah, well, I think you're really good at it, so it makes sense. And I think that, I mean, we've talked about this before, but more often than not, real estate, mortgage, but let's be honest, anything is about being able to relate with people and make relationships. And that's a lot of what this podcast is about, is relationships. And that's what you do really well. And I think that's really technically, I mean, of course you need the skills that go with the field, but more than the skills, you need to be able to relate with people. So that's been fun to witness you in those situations. But okay, so how about what your typical day looks like? Because I know you have, and I know you do real estate.
Yeah.
I think you have another business.
Yep. It's
so
called
like,
of all trades.
So like, what do you do every day?
Oh man.
Or maybe I should say, what do you not do every day?
Exactly. That's the better question. So typically my mornings usually start around 5 a.m. where I jump in either a lake, river, or a horse trough at my house. And I'll sit in there for 5 minutes.
Like, heat the water up first, right?
Yeah. It's heated up to about like 37 degrees, I think. But this is a recent thing, but this is kind of just my morning routine now, where I get in the water for about 5 minutes, do a cold plunge, and then I'll warm up my body naturally by doing a workout. I was telling you this the other day. I need to like beat myself up daily just to feel good about myself. I don't know what that's about.
Masochism?
Yeah, exactly. That's another therapy session we'll get to. Yeah. But I need to get some sort of workout and get my blood flowing. That kind of just kickstarts my day. Yep. Get back from the gym, kind of get the household in order. Kiss the girls goodbye. Hopefully have some listing presentations or appointments, some showings set up for that day. I have the Matt of all trades handyman business where I try to do like one maybe per day where I'm going to somebody's house to help them out, do something for an hour or two. Mm-hmm. And to be honest, I do a lot of that because I've grown up learning how to be handy. And
on the ranch.
Yeah, on the ranch. And it just kind of helps, being newer to the area, me meet new people, build that clientele, and then also just kind of be like, hey, if you guys are actually looking to sell or buy some real estate, it's kind of like a win-win in that situation, you know? So do one of those a day, typically, give or take. And then nowadays we got baseball going, coaching a 14-year-old baseball travel team, Flathead A's.
Go A's.
Go A's. Usually practices around an hour and a half a day.
And you're the head coach, right?
Head coach,
yeah.
yeah.
So how much time do you put into practice prep?
Yeah. Just whenever I can, I'll do some sort of outline for the day.
While you're
of what
fixing someone's house, you're like,
exactly.
Gotta get practice done.
Well, I probably shouldn't be saying this, but it's usually when I'm driving, from somewhere.
I feel you.
You know what I'm saying?
I do a lot more driving than I probably should.
Yeah, it's not the appropriate time to do it, but it's usually, as you know, as a father and businessman, it's like there's only so much time in the day, so try and get in when you can.
I think we left that out too. I forgot to ask you, how many kids do you have?
I have one.
Okay.
With another on the way.
Cha-ching.
For those that you don't know yet, so there you go.
That was the announcement.
Yeah.
That's exciting, man. So how old's your daughter?
She is 7 months as of 2 days ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you are so not only do you have a full day that starts at 5 a.m., but like, are you sleeping at night?
Yes. Usually try and fall asleep around like 10:30.
Okay.
It's a decent amount.
Wow.
But that's if Charlie allows us to sleep throughout the night. You know
that's
how it goes.
My mind was going.
Typically, my job is the middle of the night feed. So, yeah.
So is that like an hour before you get up?
She's actually been waking up around like 1:30.
Okay. All
We put her down around 6:30. So
So instead of getting a full night's sleep, you get 2 naps in the middle of the night.
Two like 3-hour naps.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Nice.
It works for me. I don't need much sleep, to be honest.
Well, that's good because
Yeah.
your lifestyle doesn't allow for it.
No.
So that's great.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. No,
And I'm
that's
not
good.
a coffee drinker.
That's right.
Yeah. But maybe one day, I see myself maybe one day taking that on.
Would you say that the cold plunge is similar to a cup of coffee?
Oh, man. It's
Like what coffee traditionally does for people?
yeah, coffee never really got me going like it does for other people, but a cold plunge, I don't think there's any other, like I call it my drug of choice. Serious.
Nice.
Like there is like no better way to wake up. Obviously those 5 minutes really suck.
Yeah.
And you guys, that does not get any easier. It's going to suck every day. But I think that's why I like it, you know, because it's hard. But that feeling you get of getting out of that cold plunge and kind of starting to warm up, I don't know if there's a high like it, to be honest.
Interesting.
It's a natural high too.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, you're not putting a substance or anything in your
Exactly.
body. Yeah. No, that's good. That's kind of getting into like the meat of our topic too, which is doing hard things, being a genuine man. Oftentimes those two go hand in hand. But real quick, I wanted to ask you a question. I think you also said that you're doing, what's it called? 75 hard right now.
Mm-hmm.
So Matt and I were having lunch the other day, and I found myself laughing because he's describing his busy life, and he goes, "Oh, by the way, I just started a new thing too called 75 Hard." Why don't you explain it for people who don't know what it is?
Okay. 75 hard is you have to do 2 workouts per day, 45 minutes each. One has to be outside. Rain, snow, doesn't matter. You got to be outside. But to be fair, it doesn't have to be anything strenuous. It just has to be, it could just be a walk, to be honest. So you just need to go outside for 45 minutes. I typically run usually just because that's kind of a good escape for me, you know, kind of unplug. So you got to do 2 45-minute workouts a day. You have to read 10 pages of a non-fictional book, just something to help you learn. Maybe it's real estate, maybe it's business, just something to kind of expand.
Accounting 101.
Yeah,
Does that
exactly.
count?
Yeah. What else is there? Oh, you have to stick to a strict diet. You can't stray away from it. So anything, if you miss on any of these things, you have to start over.
That's right.
That's part of the rule. And actually the hardest part for me, dude, is you have to take a progress picture every day.
Interesting.
Yeah, because they want to see the progression of you throughout the 75 days. And that's like, to me, that's like almost like the weirdest part of it.
The most
you know?
uncomfortable part.
Yeah, because I'm not a selfie kind of guy.
Does Erin ever take one for you? Just
No,
like,
I should have her do it, actually.
Yeah.
That would be good.
little bonding moment.
Yeah. But that's the part that I struggle with the most. I actually I've never been a huge reader, to be honest, in my life. But that I enjoy it now. Something I look forward to at the end of the day.
Good.
What else is there? I think that's it. I've added the cold plunge to it just because I love doing that. But
Just because why not, right? But
Yeah.
and that's how I forgot. That's how that came up. Is we went and had lunch, but only one of us ate,
yeah.
and that was me, because Matt's like, I'm doing 75 hard, and I can't eat anything.
Yeah, you realize you can't go out to eat to a lot of places because of the strict diet you're on.
And then I was mean because I wasn't
Yeah.
paying attention, and I got like a caramel.
No, he
roll,
did this on purpose,
and
you guys.
yeah, a nice big old breakfast sandwich. And doesn't it sound good, Matt? No.
Yeah.
No, I just teasing.
So that's the thing is that I'm doing strictly like grass-fed beef, meat, organic meat, and organic fruit. And that's my diet at the moment, which it actually makes me feel incredible. It's crazy when you actually dive into a diet, how it transforms your life. It really does, because it makes you feel good. But in all reality, it's just making you feel normal, you know, how we're supposed to feel.
Great point. And it's not just the physical benefits like weight loss or muscle building. You're talking about a difference in emotion that you feel from different foods.
Yeah.
Huh.
And it's all for like the emotional tie to it is that telling yourself you're going to do something and then you actually doing it, building that self-confidence within, you know what I mean? That's real.
Yeah, I think that perhaps another way to say it is self-discipline too, because I do like the model of 75 hard for that reason, is that if you get to day 74 and you screw up, then you don't complete it. You weren't disciplined enough to go 75 days. You were only disciplined enough to go 74, so restart it. And so I think that's kind of a lot of what your life seems to center around is discipline.
Discipline, because I would say that I wasn't the best at it growing up, and that would eat at me. And now I think I'm probably one of the most disciplined people I know.
You're in that category for me as far as people I know,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
Actually, one of my favorite sayings, what you're saying about getting to day 74, is that I've heard this quote where getting to the top 90% is the easy part. It's the last 10% that most people fail because they see the finish line. You can almost feel the finish line, and you're like, okay, well, I'm almost there, and they kind of give in.
Back off a little bit.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's true in skill-based stuff too. Like I'm a big golfer, and it gets incrementally difficult. So you can be better than half of the golfers in the nation pretty easily with a little bit of work. 75%, it's difficult. You can get to where you're better than 90% of golfers, and that takes quite a bit of work. But to get into the next level, the next 5%, the next 3%, it's like most people can't do it because they don't have the discipline or the time to do it. And so it's kind of similar to what you're mentioning. But do you think that being a husband and a father has kickstarted some of that discipline? Because you mentioned in your earlier life that maybe you weren't this way. So like, where does it come from?
It comes from just something. We all have that internal voice, right? There's that internal voice that says, you just know better. You know that you can be better. You know you should be doing the things to be better, whatever it is, whether it's relationships or your business. We tell ourselves like, okay, I know where I want to go. I need to do these things. But for some reason, we just don't do them. But that internal voice got so loud in my head that it was finally pushing me to, all right, let's see where we can go here. Let's see how far I can go. Let's see how much I can build my business, how much I can build my body, my mind. But to your point, as a father and a husband, you're a role model now, dude. And just seeing Charlie look at me, like we talked about this the other day, it's like, I want her to be like, the saying is, don't do as I do, do as I say, right? It's like, no, I want you to do as I do.
Yeah.
And I don't even need to say that. I just want her to see me doing it, So that's another motivation for me now, where it's like, I can look before her, even before Aaron, I'd look in the mirror and hold myself accountable. But when it's them, it's a whole nother level, man.
I think you're right. And what's interesting is we talked a little bit about this the other day, but I have 3 boys. So my job as a father is to produce men who treat women correctly, who are responsible, disciplined providers. You have a responsibility, I think, to demonstrate what that man should look like for her someday. Do you think about that a lot?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's only 7 months old, and
But
it's
I think
already
about it
going
all
in
the
your
time.
brain. Yeah.
All the time. I want her to see how a man is supposed to love a woman.
Right.
How I love her mom. Like she needs to see that daily. Because it's like we are what we eat.
Yep, right.
You know what I'm saying? And so it's the same thing. It's like she's going to expect what she sees out of her relationships from what she sees from me.
Yeah.
No,
I completely agree. So that kind of gets me to the main line of questioning, which is great. It seems to me like we live in a world today where it's kind of, cool or whatnot to be given everything and not necessarily earn it. I think that we're sort of seeing some of the consequences of that, but I don't think we've really seen how it all plays out yet. So, like...
You can see it, though.
I think so, right?
Yeah.
You can see it. And the way I would, and this is, I'll just be honest, it's a little bit harsh, but I think what that does is it produces what I call soft men. If things are handed to someone, then they didn't have to work for it. And that starts to create a pattern in their brain that says, I'm just gonna get this stuff. I don't have to do anything for it.
Yeah.
What do you think about all that? Is that something we deal with?
It's true.
Today? Okay.
I see it all the time. You see it, to be honest, with like my baseball team, for instance. You can see
With
it
the boys?
with the boys
Okay.
that maybe have had quote unquote easier life than others. You can see it in the work they put in out on the field. And yeah, man, it's just if you're not putting yourself through hard times, like you're choosing to do that, what are you getting out of yourself? Like you're not. One of the quotes that I love is like, if you're not getting nervous before something, like if there's not like a hint of doubt in your mind before you do something, like is it even worth it? You know what I mean?
Right.
And if, like you said, like if somebody walked in here and gave us $1 million right now, we'd be like, wow, this is awesome. But there wouldn't be that, man, I worked my butt off and sold all these homes to get this $1 million. And now I actually appreciate it because of all of those days of grinding to get it.
I think so. Yeah. Do you think that so you grew up on a ranch? That's kind of where this is going. Did you, from a young age, have to work hard? Was that a mandatory thing in your household?
Mandatory, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay, well, to be straight, I didn't actually grow up on the ranch, but the ranch was like an hour and a half from our house.
Okay.
But we were there all the time.
Got it.
And my dad and I were the ones working on it, you know? My dad, grandpa, and I. So that was
like
instilled.
at what age did you have to start working? Like
Ever since I
4?
can remember, yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's like,
that's
because
good.
that's what they did, you
Yeah.
know? So it's like what they were doing, I was doing. I was there. And like we were just talking about with Charlie, her watching me, I was watching them. So it's like they're on the ranch doing whatever, fixing roads, taking trees. It's like whatever needed to be done, I was watching and being like, okay, this is what needs to happen on this property for it to thrive. So now I know what to do.
Yeah, I just think there's like patterns here is where my mind is going. And I think about it now as a dad because my dad absolutely taught me how to work hard. There was no, and to be honest, I don't have any other way. Like I don't have anything within me to take credit for who I am. A lot of it was handed to me.
Yeah.
In not in a given sense, but in a you need to work for this. Here's a lesson. Go figure it out.
Yeah.
Right. So I think about that for now as a father. Like, how do you instill that in your kids? So anyway,
That's what I was saying. It's like you have to be the one showing them how to do it.
right.
You got to be the one doing and not just saying this is what you do. You have to actually be the one participating in it. And my dad and I have talked about this recently as we've gotten older. It's like he was hard on me. You know what I'm saying? Like, but he had expectations of what a man was supposed to be. But you don't get that as a kid. Your boys probably don't understand that either right now at their age.
No,
why is dad pushing
dad's
me?
mean
Yeah,
sometimes
why
is
is
what I
dad
say.
mean, or why is he pushing me so hard, or I never do anything right, or whatever it is. And now looking back on it, it's like, oh, I understand why you were doing that.
Are you thankful now?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Yeah. Thanks, Dad.
Yeah.
But at the time, it was like, Dad, God, get off my back. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it
But-
goes back to what we talked about when we were 18. Like, we were the coolest, smartest, most self-sufficient
Exactly.
people ever at 18,
Yeah.
right? And it's not quite true.
No.
But
Oh, man, that guy, he didn't know anything at the time, dude. I still don't know much.
I was going to say, we're going
Yeah.
to be sitting here in 10 years saying, man, do you remember when we did that podcast?
Yeah.
And we
Didn't know anything.
We had no idea what we were talking about.
But that's the point of it, right?
It
You're
is.
always trying to get better.
It is, yes. Okay, so then the other problem is you mentioned somebody coming in and handing us $1 million. That sounds kind of nice.
It does.
So how do you fight the temptation to seek things given and instead dig into the hard things? Like, you're a great example of this because you're not comfortable with easy, and I can tell
I'm not.
I can tell that by how your lifestyle is set up. So there's got to be, I know the internal voice is a portion of it, but how do you fight that temptation over and over daily? Basically, it's got to be like hourly sometimes.
Oh, it is. I fight it all the time, dude, to be honest. I mean,
Is there a part of you that wants the easy?
100%.
Okay, all right,
I
me
think
too.
we all do.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
I think that I would say that I'm like the laziest, most disciplined person there is. You know what I'm
I
saying?
love
Like if that makes any sense at all.
It does.
It's like my mind, I don't want to do the things, but I've created that internal voice now where I can override that voice
Yeah.
most of the time.
Okay.
I mean, I still have my faults, you know, I'll still have my lapses and stuff, but most of the time I can override that voice now where if I feel like I'm stagnant in some way, I don't know. It starts eating at me, you know?
Yeah. How do you, so as a coach then, I think coaching is really good because you get a chance to impact kids.
Mm-hmm.
But as a coach, how do you try to draw out the hard work mentality from the boys? Because I think, I mean, this is probably the hardest part of your job, honestly, is getting kids to do things that they don't want to do. So what are some things you do?
So this is actually fun for me to talk about because
Good.
I actually just did this the other day in practice. So I was instilling that anytime we made physical mistakes, we would do 5 push-ups. With mental mistakes, we would do 10 push-ups.
Nice.
And it didn't matter who did them or who made the mistakes, we would all do them, including me.
Good for you.
So
That's doing, not just saying.
Exactly.
Yep.
So we probably ended up doing a total of 100 push-ups as a team where like the parents are in the stands ready to pick up their kids because it was towards the end of practice. And I'm doing push-ups with them as I'm hitting them ground balls and stuff like that. So to me, like I was saying, it's just being a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like any coach can sit there and say, go run laps or go do push-ups or run the bases or whatever it is. But I'll actually do it with them and be a part of it and show them like, hey, this is what we do as a team. We succeed as a team and we fail as a team. Doesn't matter who did it. Like we're a part of it as one. So
those are such good lessons to teach kids. Honestly, that's great.
yeah.
Do you think though? So here, have you ever coached in a capacity when maybe your life wasn't as disciplined, and you did the go run a
100%.
lap? Okay,
Yeah.
so what's the difference in the kids? Do you notice a difference?
I
with
do.
The camaraderie, the unity.
Yeah. So I coached 14-year-olds right out of high school, actually, as like a 19 and 20-year-old. And I wasn't the most disciplined. This is when I was probably drinking too much, stuff like that. And I just wasn't my best self. It just trickles down, dude. It's just like anything in life. Whether it's a business or it just trickles down from the top. You can feel it. So we actually had a decent team still, but the talent was there for sure. But I wasn't who I needed to be as a coach. Like we were saying, as 18, I mean, it's still 19, 20 years old. I had no idea who I was.
Yeah.
And I wasn't able to kind of help those kids at that age, where now I feel like I can relate to them a little bit better.
Yeah.
As trying to remember back at 14 years old, like what we were thinking.
Yep.
And just pushing them to be better because that's what I'm trying to do. All the things that I tell them are things that I tell myself. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's like baseball is a repetition sport. So, and
Lot like life.
after I was telling these boys at the end of practice, like, you guys, the more reps we put in, the better we're going to be. And on the drive home, I was like, well, dude, it's the same for you, for real estate. It's like the more cold calls you do or the more emails you send or whatever it is, it's like the more reps you do, the better you become.
Yep.
So I was like actually having the conversation with myself on the drive home. It's funny how it works out like that, you know?
I think that one of the things that I've come to enjoy about life is that you do gain experience and you do learn things about yourself that you thought you knew but didn't know very well early on. I have what I call the dark ages in my life where I absolutely was drinking too much and living what I would call a very dualistic life.
Totally.
So I had certain people in my life who had no idea about this sector, and then the other people had no idea about the other sector.
So true.
And I was really good at it.
Yeah.
That's what makes me kind of sick is that I was, anyway. But as I am now multiple years removed from that, the enjoyment of life is so much better, but specifically my ability to be a good husband and a good father is where I noticed the biggest difference. I was so distant from my family. And honestly, I think that made me a soft man. I wasn't leading in my
Same.
household. I wasn't the one responsible for the Falk family when that's my job.
Yeah.
So I've had to deal with a lot of just like, that happened, and I have to, it is what it is, but it happened for a reason. It taught me something, and that's never going to happen again.
Yeah.
You know,
I
and
think that's
kinda
why
where-
we have to go through
I
it.
think so too.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was the same way, dude. It's pretty funny you say that because it's like you have your two separate groups of people
Yep.
that see you as maybe the partier, fun guy or whatever.
Yep.
And then you see the other group that sees you as maybe the coach or whatever it was.
Sure.
But
Yep.
yeah, you
And
try
the
not to intermingle the two.
You
know?
try not to, but they do. Whether other people see it or not, they absolutely intermingle, and you suck in both of them because you're not true to who you are
No.
in either camp.
Yep.
And so then all the relationships tend to be more fake. They tend to be less genuine, and you know what I mean. Like it's just,
How-
and it's not fulfilling.
As you've gotten older, how many relationships that you thought were lifelong relationships have you lost or
Great
moved on
question.
from?
It'd be
Countless
it'd be easier to name the ones that haven't.
that have stayed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's like less than 5.
Yeah. On one
Probably,
hand.
yeah.
Same for me.
Other than my wife.
And you think like at that time when you're growing, I think I have so many friends, or like I'm gonna
Oh, yeah.
keep all these guys in my life forever. But you don't know the real ones because, like you said, you weren't kind of fully vested in who you truly are. So you realize quickly that most of the relationships were fake.
Yeah,
And it was kind of, for me, like escaping the reality of the work week and then going and drinking with your buddies during the weekend.
that's
And then-
me. Yeah.
And not having real conversations like this.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It was just, let's go drink at a bar and get obnoxious and talk about whatever the case. Nothing.
Talk about nothing.
You weren't talking about real stuff.
No.
And if you were, it was at the end of the night and everyone's crying. You know what I'm saying? And then nobody remembered it the next day anyways.
Exactly. Yeah. No, it's just like, and similarly, we randomly bump paths.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, we have a real relationship and I do think that part of it is for, like, this is the meat of the topic, that our society and our culture propagates hobbies for men, things to distract from the things that are important. So we have, like, I'm a big sports fan, so I battle this all the time.
Same.
Technically, sports is just a distraction.
100%.
Technically, right? There are good things with it too, but we have all sorts of things. We have golf. We have entertainment that's just like Netflix. Like, our society is built on keeping your mind distracted from
Yep.
the things that matter, whether that's partying or just the more normal stuff that we don't even really think about. And so part of being a genuine man is pushing past the fake and pushing past the stuff that doesn't really matter.
The
Getting
scariest
into fatherhood and being a good husband.
the scariest place is being in your mind
Yeah.
quietly.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Without the distractions.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's a scary place to be.
You're alone with your thoughts.
Alone with your thoughts.
Yep. That's a good point. Yeah.
Nobody wants to be, nobody is there anymore. You know what I'm saying?
I was thinking about that the other day. I've been reading more lately. I'm reading a book about how to raise a modern day knight, it's called, just for helping create boys in today's society that will be great men.
That's awesome.
But even reading, like you read something, and this is why I like that you're doing 75 hard, and you have to think about it. And it's so tempting for me to be like, this is kind of boring. Put the book down and go do something that distracts my mind.
Yep.
So I'm with you on the whole, no, fight it.
Yeah.
This is good for you.
Exactly.
You know, but it's hard.
So do you know the book I'm reading right now for 75 Hard? Have you ever read or heard of the book called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Blank?
No.
I want you to read that
Okay.
eventually. It's because maybe you dealt with this too. It's like we all, growing up, especially as younger boys, we may say that we didn't care about other people's opinions or what they thought of us. That's a big lie, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's a huge lie.
Yeah.
We all like want to be liked. That's just
Yeah.
who we are. And this book kind of tells you, like, we all care about something, but that is one thing that we shouldn't care about. We should put our care into something that actually is meaningful.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, to be honest, I mean, me being on a podcast right now and having other people listen to me is something that I'm like, what are they going to think about me?
Right.
You know?
Or like on your way here.
Yeah.
That's probably what filled your mind. And for me too, before you arrived, I'm like, oh man, you know,
Exactly.
how's this gonna go?
Yeah. How's it going to go? What are people going to think? Like,
Yep.
you know, so it's a cool book because it kind of teaches you. I mean, I've kind of gotten to the point where now I really just don't care, but we always will care a little bit. It's just kind of putting it.
We
in a
will
positive
always
light.
care. And then I think the hardest part with that is that, and then like everything else, it requires balance because you do have to care a little bit,
Yeah.
but not so much that it becomes
Where it affects your life.
Right.
Or
Yeah.
your decisions that you want to do with your life.
Because like total apathy is not good either.
No.
Because you're just like, I
No.
don't care what anybody
Yeah,
says. I'm gonna do it.
exactly.
You know.
Yeah.
So it's a balance,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what I like about life is everything seems to be a balance.
But bringing it back to like your kids and my baseball team, it's like at that age, that's like we're the most influential. Like we're influenced so easily at that time, you know, because we do want to be liked. We want to be popular in school, but that's not the important thing. And that kind of does create the soft kids when you're doing things that everyone else is doing.
Yep.
And maybe it's not the right path either.
Yeah. Well, I think too that if I think back to my childhood, particularly my teenage years, I had a lot of respect for my dad. I have way more for him now.
I know, right?
But I needed other men, honestly, young men, like guys in their 20s or 30s, that I didn't feel were too far away from me to where they were totally different.
Unrelatable.
Right, but that they were older and whatnot. And so I had a couple guys in my church specifically that took an interest in me as a probably 14, 15-year-old kid. And their voice was sometimes louder than my dad's. And as far as the influence goes, right? And you know that. And so that's where now we're in that stage.
Yeah.
So
Dad,
we have
you don't know what you're talking
no,
about.
Right.
Yeah. You know.
So what do you think? Do we have a response? Like, do we have an actual human responsibility to help other young men become men, even if we're not their
100%.
parents?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's why I like to do what I do. I mean, I love baseball, so that helps obviously, but I love being there. And like one of the things that we ended up talking about at the end of practice was that, like, hey, I know we're here for baseball practice and we can talk about all baseball stuff, but we're also here to talk about anything else we need to.
Nice.
You know, if obviously nobody spoke up that day, but
They're like, oh no.
but all it takes is one, right? It takes that one person, and then everyone else will feel open. Like if you get, I try to get all the kids one-on-one, usually at some point, where I don't even talk baseball. I'll be like, hey, how's it going? Like, how's school going? How's that at home going?
Nice.
Like, what are you going through? What's your favorite stuff to do? But all that stuff, just to get to know them. And then it kind of breaks the ice a little bit when I'll relate it to baseball, where I'll say, you guys, when I struggled at baseball, it was all mental. And I didn't have the confidence is because I was afraid of striking out in front of my girlfriend or whatever it was.
Yep.
It's like we all have those doubts. So I would say it through my experience, and then it would give them the opportunity to be like, okay, now, since coach went through it, maybe I can tell them what I'm going through, you know?
Totally. I want to be on your baseball team, dude.
I know. It's so much fun, dude. It is.
I love it. And it's creation of the next generation of men. And I think that's a big deal. So that's good. Okay, we're going to wrap up here soon. But I wanted to, you did a nice job kind of getting into this a little bit, but how do you think social media impacts high school boys? And does it fit into this thing that we're talking about?
I don't think it just affects high school boys. I think it affects us.
Yeah.
Men like us, people older than us, but then especially the younger generation, because it's kind of like the social media is everyone's highlight reel, right?
Yep.
It's like everything is just peachy and happy-go-lucky. You don't see the good, the bad. You just
Charlie
only see the
never
good.
cries, right?
Charlie
She
never cries on
cries.
social
It's
media.
crazy.
Yeah,
it's
she's
crazy.
always happy. So that's what everyone sees. And so you almost get like that feeling of like, well, why isn't my life like that?
Right.
You know, like, why do they have it so easy? Why is their life better than mine? When in all reality, it's not. It's just they're posting what they want you to see.
Yep.
But that's how we interpret things on the other side.
Yep.
So I think it's pretty detrimental, honestly, to the younger generation and even us, honestly, because I feel it sometimes where I'm like,
that's what I was just going to say.
I'm like, why aren't I at that level yet?
Yep.
Like, I've been working just as hard, if not harder, than most people I know, but these guys are farther along in life than I am, and maybe they're younger, the same age, and it's like, why aren't I there yet? So I fall into that trap too, you know?
Too. Yep. Or for us, like you see people post closings online,
exactly.
Right? And this is not a dig to anyone. Might have been their only closing that year.
Yeah.
But you and I are like, oh man,
I know.
they close another deal.
Yeah, they're
like,
killing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's perception. It's not reality.
No.
Yeah.
So I feel it too. And that's stuff that we do talk about in the field a little bit. Is just like, you guys just keep doing you. And that's the part of not caring as much, is like, you have to do what your internal voice tells you, like, is right for you.
Yeah.
And because maybe something that you believe in yourself and what you believe you're supposed to do, everyone's going to be fighting against you. Like, you can't do that.
Yep.
You're not supposed to do that. But you have to stick with that path.
Watch me.
Yeah, exactly.
Watch me.
Yeah.
Exactly. Cool. Okay, last question. I always like to end by figuring out what's on the horizon for you. So you're doing real estate, got a handyman business, father, husband, baseball coach.
Mm-hmm.
What do the next 5 years look like for you? Oh, we didn't talk about your renovation project. Maybe that fits into this. But
Yeah, it does actually. You're
Okay,
right.
good.
So the next 5 years, I'm actually going to say no to a lot more things. Be more present. Because
With who?
with my family and myself, honestly, because I'm like that guy that is just on to the next, always going, where you kind of just don't really enjoy where you're at the time or the process. So the next 5 years, I plan to probably move away from the handyman business and focus solely on land and ranch sales.
Nice.
Because that's just who I am. And those are the people I want to be working with. I'll probably still be coaching baseball from time to time. We'll see. I mean, with 2 kids and trying to be more present, we'll see if that's actually obtainable. But with the renovation project we're going through, so we plan to invest. That's kind of going to be our retirement plan, is find some good deals out there, fix them up, most likely Airbnb them out, and then hopefully make some passive income as we get older through that route. And then hopefully Charlie and our other kid will have some nice assets as we pass along.
You bet.
So yeah, that's the next 5 years.
I like it. That sounds great. Okay, final thought.
Mm-hmm.
Words of encouragement to men out there dealing with the fake, wondering whether they're good enough, etc. What do you have to say to them?
It's all on you. You have to be the one to make the change, and you have to be the one to listen to yourself. Don't listen to the ones around you, because I did that for way too long and it didn't get me anywhere. And I felt like I actually backtracked because of that. I could have been a lot farther of where I wanted to be now if I would have just listened to myself earlier. Yeah, it's just stay with it and just be true to yourself. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, listen to that internal voice and just keep going. There's going to be lots of obstacles, but keep on the path and you're eventually going to get to where you want to go.
I love it. Well, you heard it here first, guys. It's 2 genuine men trying to be more genuine. So we're right there with you. It's always a battle. But if you'd like to talk to either Matt or I, feel free to reach out. Matt is an excellent real estate agent, and I do okay mortgages.
He's the go-to guy, you guys.
We'd love to talk with you. But honestly, what I hope you gain from this is that we're just 2 guys. we don't necessarily care about the business side of things. We want real relationships. And so if anybody's interested in that, we got chess club, we got lunch, we got coffee houses. Let's get together and chat. It'd be a lot of fun. So
Yeah.
thanks, Matt.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
A lot of fun.
Yeah, it was.
You guys have a good day. See ya.
Take it easy.